It was different, very different, given the teams I've been on and coming here. And we'll say the biggest takeaway I'm walking away with is I've never, felt closer with a group of guys than I do with these guys. I will say, like, winning can mask a lot of stuff that's going on in a lot of other organizations. And, like, I think it was encouraging to see, that there's a real vested interest in, building a foundation of, community and connectedness here, and that definitely was noticed. And I, have made some of the, beyond even the word teammate, just best friends I made, in my NBA career this year with this group. So you don't kind of go through a tough year, struggles of a year like this without, being able to, lean on one another and connect and grow collectively. So that's one thing I'm super grateful for. Amidst that, like, personally, this is the least amount of games I played in the season with injuries and having to be away for personal reasons. So disappointed on that front. But overall, like, lots of silver linings I can take away. Developed and grew as a leader and a teammate, and, still know I have a lot that I'm capable of offering, as a basketball player. So I'm grateful for all of it. Can't say you're happy and grateful to be in the NBA only when you're winning games. There's positives to take from all experiences, and, I'm grateful for this one.
That was kind of touching, Landry. I'm like,
Wow.
Oh my gosh, Dusty in here.
Appreciate it.
I guess this group is at such an important kind of place in where the rebuild is. With the coaching search coming up, what do you feel like this group would benefit from most? What type of coach characteristics, on-court stuff, anything? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, we're not going to go and win 81 games next year, so I think keeping the things that I just talked about at the forefront, you're building a foundation here. You have to, sometimes take dips to go up. That's not uncommon. You see it all over the place. Build foundation to build on top of that, and that requires digging and getting lower than maybe you would like to at times. So it's part of it. But I think, still making the important things, and that's, accountability, a level of, setting a standard regardless of winning games. Like, we were, still competitive, to finish the season. We might not have won games, but that level went up in terms of how we competed, how we showed up, game in, game out. So somebody who's going to set that and make that a priority, like, hey, we're going to still instill values of winning, even if we're not winning right now, learn how to win on the way to winning. So I think those are some of the things that would be important, but making the general vibe and feel of the organization the priority, and holding people accountable from top to bottom.
You mentioned this being a difficult year for you with being away from the team, injuries, personal reasons. How did you kind of manage the mental and emotional aspect of that as a professional and still being present for the guys, especially with the camaraderie and brotherhood that you guys built with this team?
Yeah, I mean, that was definitely part of the challenge for me, and, like, I think in this part of my career that I wanted to take some pride in. I don't think any of this is worth it if you can't try to find ways to give back. So I'm super honored to be 27 and looked at as like a vet with this group, and to be able to lean into the young guys and, still have that be my impact this last stretch where I wasn't playing, or stretches during the year when I was hurt, So I took a lot of pride in that. That's not to say it was easy, because in a perfect world I want to play. Like, I want to play 82 games and be competitive and win games. Like, that's what I want to do. But, when that's taken away from you for whatever the reason, injuries, whatever, you got to find other ways to be impactful, and that's kind of what I tried to do. And one of the things I can definitely be proud of this year. So it was hard, sometimes hard to get up and put that right face on, when I wanted to be whatever, pissed off about still being hurt, rehabbing, whatever, but that doesn't do any good for the young guys who are trying to figure out what this whole thing's about. And that's part of building that, foundation here. I think that's important. So just kind of setting the standard even when I couldn't be on the court. And that was kind of the thought.
If you can take us behind the curtain and kind of tell us, was there something that happened that allowed you guys to kind of just internally look to each other, build that brotherhood, or did it just come organically as the season began, season went on, especially with, as you said, the dips began to happen, but then coming out of the highs and seeing those incremental wins that you can look at for positivity?
I mean, organically for sure, but that type of growth doesn't come without, putting some effort in. So I will say just a great group of guys from top to bottom. So, a lot of it was pretty organic from a personal standpoint, like, on the plane, bus, whatever, like connecting that way. But I'll give BK a lot of credit because him coming in and his level of accountability definitely was felt, throughout, and made it easier for guys like myself or, Tyus, other veteran guys who we have around here, AG, like, people who, like we, from top to bottom, you can name anyone, but we, it made it easier to implement echo those same sentiments that, BK was, expressing. So I'll give him a lot of credit for setting the tone on that. And, it's nice when, coach is saying it, but it ultimately comes down to the players buying in and believing it. And I think, it was twofold. We were able to do that.
Hey, Landry. You said you can take pride in being impactful despite playing with injuries and, fluctuating role and minutes and everything. And just how were you able to do that? Because it's a lot to deal with in one season with everything fluctuating like it did. So how are you able to get through that?
I think realizing that certain things are out of your control, in life, basketball, whatever the case may be. So trying to dictate and impact what I can control. I think that was the main focus, and all that's really worth, putting your energy into. So, I think, taking pride in that and knowing that if you play long enough, you're going to have a year or two that looks like this. If you're fortunate to play a long career, which I hope I am. So a year or two of, riddled by injuries and, like you said, different roles, whatever, like, is what it is. It's part of the whole roadmap I'm on, and like I said, lots of positives to take from it still.
And you knew Michael Winger back from your time at Clippers.
Mm-hmm.
This is obviously a different situation. How did your relationship with him change and evolve this year?
It's grown. I was a pup out there in LA. I didn't know anything. I'd just been traded. I was, my world's spinning. I'm trying to figure it out. Second team. And honestly, Michael and I, we had a relationship, but we weren't as, like, I didn't know how to navigate. It can be kind of an intimidating relationship to try to cultivate with a GM when you're a player and you don't really know about the dynamic of the league. So, our level of transparency, honesty with each other, able to have a lot of really good conversations, grow our relationship this year. Super grateful for him and how he's handled everything, and have a lot of trust in him. So, somebody who I respect him and his family, and this year I think our relationship definitely, grew on that front.
You probably have a pretty interesting perspective on the growth that this team made on the court throughout the course of the season, having been in the rotation and then taking a step back and watching it from the bench. So what do you think did grow for this group over the course of the year?
I don't know. We got a little tougher. Like, I always use the analogy of like basketball and the NBA is like, a fight. You'd be pretty stupid to go into a boxing match and be confused if you get punched in the face. Like, so early in the year we'd get punched in the face and almost be like, we just wouldn't respond well to it. and be like, get upset and flustered and crumble, as opposed to like, all right, well, that's, part of the game, how can we take punches and respond? And as you look at, the year, that was a big part of kind of our team down the stretch was, whether we'd come out and be down early, we would find a way to respond and make it a close game in the end, or, things big or small, whatever it was, that I think we started to find ways to handle adversity better. Now, obviously, the next piece is like, how do you make those adversities a little bit less dramatic? You can't expect to win so many games when you start off down 20, how do we turn that into maybe 12, or then spread out the gap between those types of games where we come out flat like that. So, and I think we showed that we, could do that and commit to doing that, and learning what that means, though. I think that was a big piece as well, understanding the details that go into it, and overall showed a lot of growth on that front.
You guys led the league in pace this year. What was it like being part of the fastest offense in the league, and did it require any adjustment for you personally?
No, I mean, it's fun to play fast, and a lot of that comes from, we were better, found ways to be better defensively. You can't really play fast if you're getting the ball out of the net every single time. So when we could get stops, that helped us in terms of playing fast like that, and it's a fun style to play. I think we've got a lot of growth within that. It's one thing to play fast, but how can we add another level of like being effective on that front? I think there's times where it sounds good to play fast, but maybe we can take some steps in being smarter, more efficient with what we're doing offensively. So lots of good, like I said, but also, as we all know in this room, like a lot of areas where we can grow and have to grow. So,
Landry, you mentioned BK's accountability. What does that look like? Is that like him calling the timeouts as soon as you guys do something wrong? Is it yelling in practice? Like, yeah,
just calling a spade, and there's unfortunately kind of a narrative in the NBA where like you're not supposed to coach your best players a certain way, or not be as direct on certain things. But BK doesn't have that bone in him, like he's doesn't have it, and he's able to be direct, and guys respect that. From top to bottom, it doesn't matter if JP messes up a coverage or PBJ or me or whoever, like it's the same sentiment. Like, what are you doing? Like, this is what we're doing. He's got his few little one-liners and his remarks that I'll save. But we hear him. We all hear him. And so I think seeing that, from top to bottom is important. And that, just that standard alone is accountability, in my opinion. So it's a big one.
Landry, in addition to the character of the guys in the locker room and the way you guys gelled into personally and the trust you've built there, what makes you confident or optimistic about the future of the team?
Yeah, I think, just with how we went through a lot this year, if you look at it, and it would have been really easy to like just, we're losing games, we got nothing to play for, to really truly splinter and like go our own individual routes, and we fought that urge all year and didn't. And I think that says a lot about, the environment that we built, the kind of character guys that we have in here, and the growth and just maturity and accountability, like I said. I think it speaks volumes. That alone is enough to be confident about, and knowing that, we can go into next year with this under our belt, having experienced what we experienced, and, understanding that there's a lot more room to grow. I have room to grow. I know what I'll do differently if I'm around here next year, and how I'll want to approach things. And, I think if we all handle it right, we can look internally and come back with a little bit of a different mindset to have some more marginal growth next year.
Thanks, Landry.
Awesome. Appreciate it, guys.